Hey, this this technology is pretty cool, isn't it? I mean, here we are. Talk about social distancing.
Yeah.
This is social distancing right here.
When were you last in the UK?
We were over there last year. I played with a Swedish piano player named Robert Wells. We played at the Pizza Express in I forget the name of the borough of London. We played 2 nights at the Pizza Express. And then I went up to Scotland where I had a great dinner with my good friend Donald Black and also another friend who's appeared on some of my records, a great violinist named Laura McGee up in Edinburgh.
Right. Yeah, Donald was on earlier. He was talking about how he had a lovely evening with you.
Yeah, and by the way, I just saw that video, and somebody needs to tell Brenda Power that he can get arrested for speeding.
Right, so we might as well introduce you now. Now you're here, Charlie. You're a Grammy-winning American session noted for harmonica, but not just harmonica. 2009, you're in the Country Hall Music of Fame. You're in Nashville, as you said. You can be heard playing for Elvis, Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash, Chet Atkins, Waylon Jennings, Loretta Lynn, and most importantly of all, my favourite, Joan Baez. But
All right.
it's not mentioned on my list, so I've just added that one in because I love Joan Baez.
Yeah.
You've recorded 37 studio albums.
No, it's 43 now.
43, oh, blooming
Yeah,
heck.
that bio's a little behind.
And you played on Stone Fox Chase. One of
Yeah,
the
Stone Fox Chase was actually my song. I wrote it with a drummer, Kenny Buttry, and we were really surprised when we got the call and said they're going to use this song on a show in the UK on BBC. And hey, it ran for 8 years. That was amazing.
yeah, the old grey whistle test.
Yeah, yeah.
So just go for it then, Charlie. Tell us a few tales.
Well, I've been in Nashville since 1960. I've been doing studio work for 59 years, and I'm still working, by the way. I started harmonica when I was 8. I got one out of a comic book. There was an advertisement. Now, this was 1949, okay? There was an advertisement. You can play harmonica in 7 days or your money back. Send 50 cents and a box top from cereal. So I conned my mother out of 50 cents. And of course, the mail probably came by Pony Express in those days. It felt like it took forever, and it finally arrived. And I got this harmonica out, and I'm walking around the house. And after about a day, my mama said, could you take it outside? Because I was making nothing but noise. You know what I mean? You know what an 8-year-old a harmonica can do. It's not pretty. It's like, stuff like that. And then after a couple days, my mother said to me, well, there was this little piece of paper in here with these numbers on it. And of course, I didn't understand what it meant. And she said, oh, I think, and she looked at my harmonica. She said, there's numbers above these holes. I believe this tells us something. So she told me what blow and draw meant and the numbers. And so I learned to play. My first song I ever played was a famous Stephen Foster folk song. Stephen Foster was a great writer in America, of folk music. And I learned to play this song of his. It's called Old Folks at Home, or we call it Way Down Upon the Swanee River. Probably sounded something like that, or not even that good. And so I learned to play that and 3 other songs. And one of them was, by the way, I later found out that it was also God Save the Queen. You know, so I learned to play these 4 songs. That same year, however, for Christmas, I got a guitar, and I was more interested in the guitar than I was the harmonica. And it took until I was 16 years old, and I heard a record by Jimmy Reed. And I heard that harmonica, and I said, wait a minute, that's a harmonica. I got one of those. I need to learn to do that. And from Jimmy Reed, I discovered Little Walter. Oh my gosh. And I was hooked, you know what I mean? And so I had a friend who had moved to Nashville, and I went up and auditioned as a singer. I was singing Chuck Berry, by the way. And I got turned down. But the best thing that happened to me was Hall of Fame producer Owen Bradley invited me, after he said, no, I'm not going to sign you as a singer. He invited me to watch a recording session. And I watched 13-year-old Brenda Lee record one of her first hits. And when I watched that band, I heard the first playback. I said, right then, I said, you know what? I don't want to sing. I want to do this. So a year later, I came back to stay. I dropped out of college, broke my father's heart. He finally forgave me when I introduced him to Dolly Parton later on. But I broke my father's heart, went to Nashville, and I was living with a songwriter, and he would have people over every day. They'd write songs. And so one day he says, hey, they were working on a song. He said, why don't you get your harmonica and play along with us? So I did. And he said, I'm going to ask the publisher if you can play on the demo of this song. So he did. A publisher said yes. And about, I don't know, a month passed, and I got a phone call from the publisher, and he said, Chet Atkins just called me. He's recording an unknown singer from Sweden named Anne Margaret, and he wants you to play exactly what you played on the demo. So that was my first session, May of 1961. I was 20 years old, and believe me, I was distracted. There was Chet, the Nashville A-Team, the Anita Kerr singers, and 20-year-old Anne Margaret. And fortunately, I already knew what to play. So I played on that session, and at the end of it, the bass player walks over and says, are you free Friday? Hey, I was free the rest of my life at that time. And I said, yes. And he said, come back, we're recording Roy Orbison. Oh my gosh, I was a huge fan of Roy Orbison. And we did a record. By the way, the B side of that record was Blue Bayou, but the A side was a song that made my phone start ringing. Oh. It was called Candyman, and it was a huge, huge hit. And next thing you know, I'm getting called to work sessions. And thank God for his blessings, 59 years later, I'm still being called. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And by the way, in 1962, I got to record with Cliff Richard.
Oh my God. Charlie,
he did one session in Nashville.
I wanted to ask you something, if I might interrupt. I wanted to ask you something. One of my favorite songs is George Jones' He Stopped Loving Her Today. Was that anything to do with you?
Well, I played on it, yes. It was interesting because the piano player on that session was Pig Robinson. He's blind. And he's also in the Country Music Hall of Fame, by the way. But so the producer would play the song once. That's all Pig needed. So he could learn it. So he was at the piano. He played the song. George Jones sang it, and like I said, one time through, and Pig Robbins had it. So, and every musician in the place, I could tell everyone was like, "Wow, this song is special. We're going to play. I think we're going to be onto something big here." And so then he said, after he played it, he said, "Okay, I'm going to go in control room. I'm going to hear it on the microphone." And he forgot that I was on the session. So he started walking back to the control room, and he saw me, and he stopped, and he said, "Get something on the second verse." So that was my instruction, and it might have been the smallest amount I've ever played on a record, but maybe the most effective. And I don't know if you all have heard this song, but this is all there was to it. Kept some letters by his bed, dated 1952, and he had underlined in red every single "I love you." That's all I played on the whole record. It's been called by many people one of the greatest country records ever recorded. Well, of course, it's because of the song. The song is so amazing, and so I was really, really proud to be on that one.
How did Pig Robbins get his nickname?
I'm not sure. He's been blind. He was blind from age 2, and he was in a special school for the blind. And I think I don't know. Maybe when he went to lunch, he was real sloppy, and they put a nickname on him, Pig, I guess.
Sounds like that's a case of you're playing on that as a case of less is more.
Yeah, well, that's been my watchword from early on. And I learned from those amazing Nashville A-Team musicians. Their job was, today we have a session. You're gonna record 3 or 4 songs that you've never heard before and make the record in 3 hours. And they did it day after day after day, just brilliantly. And what an education for me, this young guy. I learned early on that less is definitely more when you're playing behind singers.
Did you ever feel that you were playing too much? Did you ever get a reprimand or something?
I did. The great musician and session leader, Grady Martin, called me outside one day, and he said to me, "You've got what it takes to stay around here for a long time, but I'm telling you right now, you're playing too much." Boy, was that a wake-up call. And I went back in kind of in a state of shock, and I listened to him, and I said, that's what he's talking about. After the session, Hall of Fame guitar player Harold Bradley walked over to me, and he said, "I saw Grady take you outside. What did he say?" And I said, "He told me I was playing too much," and he was right. And Harold said this, and sums up what we do in Nashville. He said, "Look at it this way. The song and the singer are the picture. We are the frame. Our job is to frame the picture, not to distract from it." And that's the way they do it here, and that's the way it works.
And Charlie, do you still gig very often?
Nobody's gigging this year much. Yeah, I do about 20 or 25 live shows a year. Well, in a normal year. I've done one this year, I think, back in February.
And in a normal year, would that be in Nashville, or do you travel across America?
No, I travel. Listen, and I tell you what I had booked this year. A big recording session in the south of France with French star Eddie Mitchell, a Mediterranean cruise, a tour in Sweden, and a Caribbean cruise that all went gone.
What's kept you busy over the summer then with lockdown and COVID?
Well, my studio work is going along just normal, you know. I've been playing a lot of guitar at home, you know. Boy, I've got, you know, we have a saying, we call them your fingers for guitar player, chops. I've got more guitar chops than I've ever had in my life right now. And I've been writing songs as well. In my old age, I'm starting to write songs a lot, and I really enjoy that. So that's kind of it.
I think we've got some questions coming. 1 second.
Yeah, well, I'd like to know which track you played on that Joan Baez sang.
You know,
Oh.
I just did an interview about the Joan Baez sessions, and I swear I don't remember the song. You know, that was what, back in late 60s, early 70s. You know, it's been a lot of sessions happened since then. If it had been her big hit, The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, of course, I would have remembered that. But, you know, it's just too many to remember all of them.
Hello, Charlie. Hello, Charlie.
Hello.
My name is Christelle. I play harmonica on YouTube, and I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Can you tell me why you haven't used much the throat tremolo so popular amongst dynamic player?
I didn't quite understand that question.
Okay. Can you just tell me why you haven't used that much the throat tremolo, the vibrato coming from the throat?
Why?
Yes.
Why have you not used much throat vibrato on your diatonic playing? Throat vibrato.
Well, I do when I play live because, you know, I always play on a, you know, I don't use an amp. I don't play through an amp when I play live. I just play on the PA. And so, you know, it's our habit when we come up to the mic, we grab it like this, right? So you can't do much with your hands that way. And so I do a lot of throat vibrato. But on recording, depends. I use hand vibrato when I think it fits the song, and do some of each, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can you tell us which of the great harmonica players of the past you particularly admire, and which of them do you think influenced your own playing style?
Of course, I think Little Walter's the greatest blues player ever. Still, I have one of my very favorite albums is The Best of Little Walter. And at least one day every year, I go sit down by myself in a room and turn that on and listen to it over and over again. And I swear, I hear something new every time I play it. I mean, it's incredible, absolutely incredible. I like Tim. I like Jimmy Reed very well. Of course, Toots. I mean, back about 6-7 years ago, I got to spend a whole day with Toots at his home in Brussels. And that was amazing, I'm telling you. He played harmonica for me, he played guitar for me, he whistled for me, and he started playing his new CD, and it came to this one song, and I said, gosh, I love that song. I said, if I ever do that kind of album, I'm gonna record that song. And his eyes started to sparkle, and he's looking at my harp case, because I wasn't about to come in there and yank out my harmonica, you know, unless he asked me to. And he looked at my case and he said, why don't you try it? So here I am playing Toots Thielemann's song on my 10-hole harmonica, and he's backing me up with this amazing guitar. And I'm telling you, that was kind of a special moment. And then that night, I have to go back to Paris because we're going on a tour. And so we go down at the walking street in Brussels where all these these restaurants are. And there was one that had a table reserved for Toots Thielemans. So we're sitting at this table. and we're eating, the French call it moule frite, mussels and French fries. And everyone who walks by knows him and they're stopped to talk. And when they do, they're eating the French fries. I think the guy brought us about 3 bowls of French fries while we were there. But yeah, but then it was time for me to go catch a train back to Paris. And as I was getting on the train, he said to me, "Hey, next time you're here, I want you to teach me some of that country stuff." But I never got to see him again.
Mike would like you to tell us. Oh, sorry. Mike would like you to tell us when you what you played with Elvis and when.
I played on 7 movies and 5 other albums with Elvis, 12 albums. Some of the movies were not so great. Harem Scarum. Oh, that was my first sessions with Elvis, was that movie. And I played in Frankie and Johnny, Spin Out, Paradise Hawaiian Style, Stay Away Joe. I don't remember maybe it was Kissin' Cousins. I'm not sure. And then I played on 5 other albums, a gospel album, this country album. And yeah, it was, I think I played, the only ones you'll hear the harmonica in the movie Frankie and Johnny. There's a scene where this guy comes out, he's been put down by his girlfriend, and the song is called Hard Luck. It's kind of a blues thing. And my father was furious because in the movie, they had a young black boy playing the harmonica, pantomiming, and my father didn't appreciate that much. But anyway, the other 2 that I played that I did a lot on was Big Boss Man and the song called I Wash My Hands in Muddy Water. But I played a lot of other things with Elvis, guitar, vibraphone, organ, I do a lot of that stuff. So it wasn't a lot of harmonica.
Well, funnily enough, somebody's just asked how many different instruments have you played on recording sessions?
Well, I played trumpet on Everybody Must Get Stoned by Bob Dylan, baritone sax on Pretty Woman by Roy Orbison, played bass on 4 albums with Bob Dylan, John Wesley Harding, Nashville Skyline, no, 3 albums, Nashville Skyline and Self-Portrait. Played guitar on Bob Dylan's Desolation Row. Played vibraphone on many records. Played organ on Easy Lovin' by Freddie Hart. Next Step is Love with Elvis. Quite a few songs. I've played marimba on some. I don't know. Keyboard. I played, organ on several records. So
played the bass harmonica on the Boxer.
That is true. I did. I remember when they were booking the session, the producer called me and said, "Listen, Paul Simon would like to know if you have a bass harmonica." And I said, "Not yet." So I got one right away, and my gosh, first time I'd ever had one, and I thought, wow, this thing is huge, and but he dictated every note for me to play on the Boxer, and he was right. And later I did another, when his first solo album, he flew me to New York with the bass harmonica, and I think we worked about 4 hours on 16 measures. He didn't like the part, then he didn't like the microphone. Changed the microphone, didn't like the part, come change the part. I don't like this microphone either, but the guy he's a genius. If you look at his hit records, they're all different. Very few artists ever do that. They have a sound and they have a style. And Paul Simon, the guy's really a genius.
It's been asked a couple of 2 or 3 times now. Could you give some tips on how to control bent notes and work on the tone on those notes as well?
Well, you know, I've been doing it so long that I have to really think about that question. Bending notes is not that difficult, but controlling the bends, that's what's difficult. And that's what I think it takes time. It takes time. Number one, if you're going to bend to a certain pitch, you need to hear that pitch in your head. You need to know where you're going with it, you know. And okay, so I have an instruction DVD, and I try to teach people how to bend notes. And I knew it worked because I got my wife to bend a note. And she's not musical at all, you know, but she read the instruction. But it's something that I really have worked hard at because I like to play melodies. And if you're going to play melodies, especially, you know, you're going to end up bending that 3 draw down a step a lot. You know what I'm saying? For the 2 note in the scale, like. And as far as control, I think I'm not really sure how to exactly tell people to do it, but like you can, that's a 3 draw. Of course, it bends further than any note on the harp, you know. And I've made use of that. I've got some songs where I've you know, played that interval. I would say you know, for me to play melodies, it's a must, absolute must. And I've worked on it for years, and it's just like these things are so subconscious and second nature to me now. When somebody asks me, I have to really think about it. But I think it's, you know, you got to hear the note, and it's just know what the note is, hear it, and you got to practice. And it takes a lot of work, I think, to really control the bends.
There's been quite a lot of questions, Charlie, asking you about your tuning, whether it's country tuned, standard tuned, or whether or not you have custom tunings.
Okay, I play basically 3 tunings: standard, country, and somebody told me this one is called Patty Richter. I don't think it's the exact Patty Richter, but it's a country tune with it's let me see. So this is a. So the 3rd blowhole is raised up a whole step. So I can play the 2 note of the scale without having to bend the 3rd draw reed. That's what I call kind of Patty Richter. But what I do the most is absolutely the country tuning, because you can play more melodies, and I like to play melodies, you know. And also the great thing about that is if you want that dominant 7th, it's easy to bend back on there. So those are.
How did you come across that tuning, Charlie? How did you make that tuning?
This is a great story. So in 1972, I put out, after my album, The Real McCoy, won the Grammy. The follow-up album was a self-titled album called Charlie McCoy. And I recorded the song Danny Boy on this record. And the way I played Danny Boy, let me see. Uh, yeah. Let me see. Where is it? Oh no, here it is. Okay. The way I played Danny Boy, I played it in the key of F, and the verse was, you know. Well, I couldn't play the chorus on this harp because that seventh is da da da, that dominant seventh. So I took my F and I played in first position down on the bottom. No, I went back to this. Anyway, so that's the way I did it. So I was, at the time I was on a record label, and between sessions one day I was in there just visiting and hanging out at the record company. And the receptionist called me back and said, there's a gentleman here who would like to talk to you a minute. He's from upstate New York and he's a harmonica player. And I said, okay, let him come on back. This guy came in. He was a 65-year-old house painter from upstate New York, just inside the Canadian border. And he said to me, I've played chromatic all my life, and then I heard your album, and I'm trying to play this 10-hole harmonica. And the song that really has stumped me is Danny Boy. And I'm trying to figure out how you played that. And before I could say anything, he said, now here's what I think. You took this harmonica and you took the side off of it and you scraped this reed. And I was intrigued by this, you know. And the poor guy was so nervous he couldn't hardly talk. And then he puts a harmonica back together and he starts to play Danny Boy. And he goes to the chorus and he played it all in that one B flat. And he said, that's the way you did it, isn't it? And I said, no, but that's the way I'm going to do it from now on. And as soon as he left, I called my friend Gil Matisse at Honer. And I said, something you got to know about. And I said, I need some of these. So Honer they made me a set of them. And so later they ended up marketing it, call it the Country Tuned.
That's a great story.
And I probably play it 90% of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
There's quite a few people, Charlie, asking about the Stone Fox Chase. Now, I know that's not really a big deal in the States, but in the UK here, there's a huge amount of people who got introduced to the harmonica for the first time in their lives through listening to the Old Grey Whistle Test and the Stone Fox Chase. I wonder if maybe you'd like to play it and then perhaps tell us a story about how it came about.
Yeah, you know, that song, it brought a lot of nice envelopes to my mailbox, I can tell you that. Oh, and back when they used to have the Wembley Festival, I was over one year and I was invited to go on the show with Val Doonican. And Val Doonican had taken up the harmonica, and he and I played Stone Fox Chase together on his TV show.
And he was pretty good, actually. He was surprisingly good, I thought.
Yeah. And so this song, we had this studio band called Area Code 615. It was just a bunch of guys who did nothing but studio work, who wanted to try to create something. And the drummer was named Kenny Buttry. And he and I were sitting around fooling around one day, and he started this beat, and I started playing, and one of the other guys said, man, that's great. You guys ought to record that. So we did, and it will. And so on.
Cracking tune. It's lovely. That's lovely.
Thank you.
Are you fed up with playing it?
Where did the title come from?
It's a combination. It's kind of sad humor. In this country, they had there was a nickname for beautiful girls. They call them a stone fox. And then, of course, in the harmonica world, there was the old song called The Fox Chase. So I put those together. Stone Fox Chase.
So it was a play on words.
It was absolutely a play on words, yes.
Good thing you didn't tell that story now.
Oh, you're right about that. Yeah. Yeah.
There's been a couple of questions about whether you've written a biography, and I believe you've done 10 cents in a box top, haven't you, or something like that? 50 cents, not 10 cents.
Yeah, 50 cents on a box top is the biography. Yes. And
Excellent. That sales will leap up in Britain now and across the world.
That's on Amazon, is it? We can get that on Amazon?
well, the better way to get it is from my website,
Oh yeah.
charliemccoy.com. I did one of these with a harmonica club from Toulouse in France, and they ended up they bought 11 books and 11 CDs. The postage was $85. But the way to do it is when you go to my website, you can use a credit card. However, they only ship, they only make it shipping to US and Canada. So if you all ever want anything like that, you need to email me and I'll tell you how to negotiate, how we can get it done without, we can do it. I send stuff overseas all the time.
That's brilliant.
We could possibly do something through Harmonica UK if there's a bunch of people who wanted to
Yeah, sure.
get that
No,
book. We could
problem.
get
No
some emails
problem.
going.
yeah.
Sorry, Dave.
There's been a few people asking how you got to play with Dolly, who's always over here and very popular as well.
Well, Dolly was on the same record label I was on.
Oh, right.
And so one day, once again, I was Music Row between sessions, and I went in to visit the promotion man. He was a good friend of mine. He called himself Tex. We were in his office talking, and his intercom rang, and it was the boss man. By the way, the boss man that owned that record label was named Fred Foster. He's now a member of the Country Music Hall of Fame. He discovered, among many other people, Boots Randolph, Roy Orbison, Dolly Parton, the Gatlin brothers. I mean, this guy, it was a great discoverer of talent. Well, anyway, so we're sitting there and his intercom rings and he said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm in here talking to Charlie. He said, both of you guys come in my office. I want you to hear something. We went in his office. There sat a 19-year-old Dolly Parton with her guitar. And he introduced us and he said, Dolly, play that song for these two guys you just played for me. And she started playing and singing. And we were both like, oh my gosh, this is really special. So he signed her as an artist to that record label. And actually her first album was called Dumb Blonde. And I played bass on the album and was leader on the sessions. And later I ended up recording with her on a song called Joshua and a song called My Tennessee Mountain Home. And there were a couple others. But her and I were friends. I mean, every time we've ever seen each other, it's just like old friends. And she's really special, absolutely special.
Charlie, I'm just an amateur chromatic player, and I had to go recording myself this year. But I'm very critical listening to myself when I play on a recording. You're a veteran of recording. Do you still suffer from that, or have you passed that phase?
About me worried about what I sound like, or being critical of my playing.
Yeah, being critical. I'm super critical of my playing. I just wondered, somebody who's recorded as much as you just go past that phase and.
Well, I'm way past that. I'm very comfortable with what I do. You know, I know what I need to do, and I've been doing studio work long enough that you know, it's everyday stuff to me. And especially one thing I like to do when I record songs, especially ballads that have lyrics, if I don't know the lyrics, I have a lyric sheet in front of me, because I believe that when people listen to instrumentals, if it's a song they know, subconsciously they sing along with it. And I like to have the phrasing the way the lyrics are of the song. So that's one thing I do all the time and I love ballads, by the way. You know, okay, people said, oh, you know, that Orange Blossom Special is really, really great. And a lot of young people want to play fast. And I love to play fast too, don't get me wrong. But I love the ballads. That's what my favorite thing to do is.
Thank you. That's a great answer. Interesting. I found going into the recording studio quite terrifying compared to doing gigs. And I wasn't expecting that. I'm quite comfortable with the live audience, but recording studio, different game altogether.
Well, you know, the difference is this. All the recording studio will tell you is exactly what you played. It won't tell you if it liked it or not. The live audience, they probably don't know exactly what you played, but they'll tell you if they liked it.
Charlie, there's been a couple of people asking about Shenandoah, and from my memory, I think I've heard you play it using harmony. So I guess you're using like a split 3 or something like that, using the tongue to block out some notes. Would that be right?
No, not really. I usually play that song straight out. I may have recorded it once and added a harmony part to it.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, but no. You know, that's a famous old American folk song. And when I decided to record it, I actually started working on an arrangement 5 different times, and I wasn't happy with it. And I just put it aside. I said, no, this song has got to be special. So I'm going to walk away from it and come back to it and start over. Because I was sitting at piano and working on, you know, chords and things. When I finally arrived on what I liked, I said, yes, that's it. And that's the only chart record I've ever had with playing straight harp. You know, it's first position, and it's a gorgeous melody, just beautiful.
It's a haunting melody, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Yeah, and it's you know, in this country, it's almost all the people know that melody.
Would you like to remind us of how it goes?
Wow, you thought you'd never ask.
I think we all know it in this country as well.
You know what? It's a funny, back when my youngest grandson was in the 5th grade of school, I went over to his music class and talked to them. And Honer gave me 80 harmonicas to give away to these kids, right? So I was telling him, I said, the unique thing about harmonica, it's the only wind instrument that you exhale and inhale. So it's possible to play a melody with the notes never stopping. And I played it that way, and in the back, I saw this little girl, and she must have been holding her breath. And I was thinking, I got to get through with this in a hurry. This little girl's going to pass out, right? So anyway, Or something like this. I see if I can play it without stopping it, sitting down. And by the way, my wife told me, every time I play Orange Blossom Special, it proves that I'm full of hot air. Okay. All right. So.
Wow, it's just beautiful.
That's a great song.
I love your vibrato on that. It's a kind of an unusual take on the vibrato.
Yeah, I don't know. It's what felt right to me.
Right. Are you moving your left hand?
Something. Yeah, I'm using my left hand.
And you're holding it in your left hand also.
Yeah, and yeah. This is mainly for the tone,
Yeah, I think probably most people would be holding it in the left hand and moving the right hand for a vibrato.
Yeah, one time I was on a session and this guy came out to me, this arranger. They were from out of town. They were from Nashville, and he walked out to me and he said, "Could you play something that sounds yellow?" And I'm like, in Nashville, we always say yes and figure it out. We never say no. And I said, okay. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do? So I thought, I'm going to go total on extreme with this. So I decided to play it like a cowboy movie, like Cowboy Campfire, I call it. So I played. Like that, and he came out and he said, "That's it." And I thought,
Can I ask a question, Charlie? Have you ever had the opportunity to play with Randy Newman?
No, I have not.
There's another question here that's been asked about 3 times. That it's no longer a question; it's actually an order saying, "Tell us about Orange Blossom Special."
Okay. The reason I started playing it was that I played on a record with Johnny Cash in 1965, and he did a vocal version of it. So he sang it through. It was quite a bit slower than you usually hear it, because back in the day it was just a fiddle. It was a fiddle song, and especially in this town, anybody that played a fiddle, you better know how to play Orange Blossom Special. I mean, that's like the standard song for fiddle. So Johnny Cash said to me, "Why don't you play a solo?" And okay, I'm thinking, what would the fiddle do? And they do those double stops, and so. He sang the song in the key of C, and the chorus modulates to the key of F. So, trying to copy the fiddle, I've got a B flat here. I'm going to play it in second position and play this F in first position. So and then I thought, I'll try to do some. And then, of course, there's the chorus, which is all in first position. Anyway, so after the session was over, Johnny Cash walked over to me and he said, "Can you show me how to do that?" And I said, "I'll tell you what." I showed it to him and I said, "I'll tell you what, these two harmonicas are your gift." So I gave him those harmonicas, and after I left that session, I thought, you know what? I really need to learn to play that song. That's really special. And I went home and started working on it. On the album that won the Grammy, The Real McCoy, I recorded a version of it, but it was about the same tempo Johnny Cash did it at. And then I started playing it more and more, and I got better and faster. And finally, 2 albums later, I did it again, up to the tempo that you'll hear me play it at these days. There was the album called Good Time Charlie, and that album went #1 in Billboard Country Chart in America, my only #1 album. But anyway, and then we did a single. We released a single record on Orange Blossom Special. I think it got up in the 30s or something. Yeah. But then since then, it's become, anytime I do a concert, that's my closing song, always.
Charlie, we have in the UK, when you go to the supermarket, very often they ask you if you want to have any money back at the end of it. So they say, do you want cash back? And I always say, "Oh, yes, please." I love that guy.
Yeah.
They look at me like I'm an idiot. Who
Yeah.
could look at me like an idiot?
Yeah.
Should we mute Ben?
Yeah. He was a great guy, and he really knew, the producers didn't do anything on his session. They let him go because he knew what to do with him and to make his sound and make his records. And he was really special. And then after he met June Carter and he quit taking funny pills and things, he became just really down to earth, nice guy. And actually, when my daughter and son were like getting ready, she was getting ready to go into high school. He was getting ready to go into middle school. And they send this note out that all of us students in our part of town would be put on a bus and taken all the way across town. This was when the desegregation was really going strong. And I thought, I don't have any problem with people of other color. I really don't. But I have a problem with my kids spending an hour each way on a bus every day. So I was asking, I knew Harold Bradley's kids went to a private school. And I said, "Harold, what's the chances of, do you have any clout over there?" And he said, "No, but I'll tell you who does. Call Johnny Cash." And I called Johnny Cash, and he got my 2 kids in that school. Yay.
There's a question.
Sometimes it's who you know, it's not what you know.
There's a question that's been asked about 2 or 3 times. Could we ask Charlie if he can give us some tips on how to control bent notes and work on the tone of note bends?
Well, as far
We might have already covered that.
yes, as far as controlling them, well, you got to be, you got to be strong here. I mean, it's got to be strong. And
Another supplementary question to that was, how do you play the long bend on the intro to Good Night Irene, which incidentally is the theme song for Bristol City football team in the UK, with Leon Russell?
yeah.
So how do
Yeah,
you play the long bend?
I played on the album with Leon Russell. The album was called Hank Wilson's Back. And it was his only, I think it was his only country album. He came to Nashville to record it. But yeah, and I love this, I love those bends. But as far as the tone of it, it's just so subconscious to me now that, I don't quite know how to really explain it.
It's a very sweet sound. Charlie, we have a beautiful question here. Christel says, Charlie, do you think the diatonic harmonica still has its place in the music business today, where everything is made on computer with crazy new sounds? Do you think harmonica players are still relevant?
Well, I think so because, harmonicas, it's one instrument that I don't think the computer ever really captured. I've never heard what they call, a patch, a harmonica patch that sounded worth a hoot to me. I think technology, it's got a good side, it's got a bad side. The bad side is that there's so much music being made that's, number one, some of it I don't call music, You have people making records with no talent. If they can program a computer, they can make a beat, and it's like I really don't like it at all. And by the way, I'm here to tell you that there's not one computer on any of my 43 albums. There are live, breathing human being musicians on there, because I will not do that. I will not, I play enough instruments I could make my own records, but I don't want to. I want to play with other people, with great musicians. And so as far as this whole electronic thing, I hope it's like the pandemic. I hope it's over soon.
Charlie, I must tell you, you've just been part of living history, because I've just had a phone call. Somebody kept trying to ring me very persistently. In the end, I took it. I said, I have to ring you back. I'm talking to Charlie McCoy.
Oh, geez. And they said, who?
And so I think I should dine out on that story for the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, you're looking at a guy who does not like electronic music.
There was a question we had earlier on, Charlie, from Phil, I think, and he was asking, let me just scroll down and find it. It was to do with, typically how does it work in sessions? Do you read a part, or do you make up what you feel, or what sort of directions do you get from the producer? So those are the kind of questions that Phil was asking.
Well, the answer is all of the above. However, a written part, I haven't seen a written part probably in 5 years. Generally in Nashville, what they do, they hire people they trust. They tell you where to play in the song, not what to play. And that's pretty much the way it goes here. The people that play what they like, more often than not, get the calls. And the people that don't, no. There's so many musicians in this town now, you wouldn't believe it. And when you count home studios, I bet there's 300 studios here. I'm not kidding you. And but they count on your experience and your instinct, and how you can identify with the song and do something that fits the song. Don't play Jimmy Reed on a gorgeous ballad. It's that kind of thing. I mean, that's a little extreme example, but yeah.
Charlie, what was it like playing with Bob Dylan?
He didn't know the answer to Hello. No, it was strange because he never talked. I was session leader, which means I'm the middleman between the artist, the producer, and the musicians. And he would start to play one of his songs, and we were all listening and learning the song, and then I'd walk over and, Bob, what would you think if we did this or that? And his answer was, it was like he had a recording. I don't know, man. What do you think? So finally, I told the record producer, I said, you know, I'm asking him for what he thinks, and he's not answering. I said, so I'm going to quit asking. And he said, that's fine. I said, maybe if we do something he likes, he'll say something. But I mean, that was 5 albums, and I think that's all he said to me was, oh, he said one other thing. When I first met him, they were going to do that song, Desolation Row, and he said, why don't you get that other guitar and play along? And then after that, it was like, I don't know, man, what do you think? So, but having said that, the contribution he made to Nashville recording was amazing, because after he came here and recorded Blonde on Blonde, the floodgates opened for the folk rock artists to come here who wouldn't come before. And, you know, we're talking Joan Baez, Buffy St. Marie, The Byrds, Peter, Paul and Mary, Gordon Lightfoot, Simon and Garfunkel. The list goes on and on and on and on. And so what he did for Nashville recording by coming here was really amazing.
Charlie,
Yes.
What was Roy Orbison like to play with?
Just a prince of a guy, very soft-spoken, very soft. It was like when you hear this guy talk and then you hear that voice, you think, whoa, where did that come from? You know, he was just the nicest guy, and you know, and that helped me too, because that was just my second session and I was pretty nervous, and he was so nice, and he and I became good friends, and yeah, he was a great guy, and of course his music speaks for itself.
We've asked for some requests, Charlie.
Yes.
The first one is "I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry."
Okay, which is a great Hank Williams song. And Hank Williams, by the way, the songs he wrote, it's been 60 years now, right? Almost 70. They're still important and relevant and popular. Very few songwriters can say that. And there's so many of them that are so great. And, you know, he was only 29 years old when he died. By the way, he died in my hometown. The town I was born in is where he passed away. And of course, I was only 11 years old. I didn't have a clue who he even was, you know. But when I moved to Nashville, I found out real quick who he was and how important he was. And some of those songs of his are just so beautiful. And not only the melodies, but the lyrics too. And this guy didn't even have a high school education. He dropped out of high school, you know, and he was writing these amazing lyrics. Cold, Cold Heart is another one that's, the lyrics are so great. And yeah, he was one of the most important people in country music, period.
Charlie, do you ever get on a session and you just, you know, where you've played a lot that day and up completely and just can't think of any fresh ideas to play?
You know what? I found that when you know, the song, of course, if a song is awful, it's tougher, you know. But if it's a good song, it never seems to be a problem to come up with something with a good song. And Nashville is a song town. It's all about all about the songs, you know, and that's why Nashville is still. It may be as far as recording with live musicians, rhythm sections all together. This may be the #1 recording center in the world right now. Because, of course, other than this pandemic, but at any time, there may be anywhere from 5 to 10 live sessions going on here. I mean, you wouldn't believe how huge it is. And so, yeah, it's, I mean, and I'm still excited about it. I still love to play on records, you know, and play behind people. And yeah, so, and I know you were talking about the difference in the live playing and the studio playing. I love a combination of each. That's why I still go out and do some live concerts. Hey, I'll be 80 years old next year. And I'm still excited about this music, you know? And a guy in the Czech Republic asked me a couple summers ago, I just finished Orange Blossom Special. He said, you mind if I ask you how old you are? And I said, I'm 78. He said, how do you do that? I said, I have 3 secrets. I walk 5 kilometers every day. I have for 26 years. I play a lot of harmonica. And I drink a lot of French wine.
So somebody asked, what do you think of Bob Dylan's harmonica playing?
Oh, that's not fair. Nobody can ask that question.
No, but you know what? No, he makes that fit his songs. I've been asked to do it, and I swear I can't make it work like he does. It's just like my very good friend Mickey Raphael, who plays with Willie. I sit in with Willie one night, and I couldn't find anywhere to play. He sings so far behind the beat, and he plays his guitar so far in front of the beat, I couldn't find any space.
No
but
space.
Mickey Raphael plays behind him, just fantastic. And so, yeah, Dylan is, I think what he does on his own music really works. Now, if he's going to play with somebody else, I doubt it.
Charlie, it looks like you're playing Special 20s. I don't know much. I'm sorry, but I don't know very much about. I know about you, but I don't know very much about what kind of harmonicas you play or whatever. Could you just tell me what you generally play?
Special 20.
It is Special 20s.
Yes.
Have you noticed a difference with the old ones and the new ones at all?
You mean when it had a wooden comb?
No, they've seems to have slightly changed the specification recently, but that's all I know. It's probably very minor.
I didn't notice.
No.
And 6 years ago, I don't know if you all are aware of this, but Hohner moved their United States headquarters to Nashville. Yeah, fantastic.
That's good for you.
Oh, absolutely. And they've got a young guy out there who tunes and, works on these harmonicas. The guy's a genius, I'll tell you. And whenever I get any new harps, I just go out there and sit there with that young kid, and he's like a magician, And so he takes care of all my harmonicas, the tuning and all that. And really, I use a harmonica a long time before I change, because I don't sit around and play all the time. I play enough doing studio work. And when I'm at home, I'm going to sit and play guitar or piano. But so my harmonicas last me quite some time.
Do you get through many reeds, or the way you play, do you get through many broken reeds at all?
Nope, never have. Never
Brilliant.
happens. No.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right.
Charlie, do you have an ultimate gig that you could say this is my best gig ever? And if so, why was that?
The best gig?
The best gig.
Live show?
Live show.
Good question. Whoa, I don't know. some of the shows I did in France. You know, I played in France a lot. The reason is I've played on 11 albums with their big star Eddie Mitchell. So immediately I had some credibility to the French audience. And also I've learned to speak French with a 6-year-old. So, you know, I played a lot in France, and I had an amazing band. There were 2 French musicians and 3 Dutch. And I'm telling you, in southern United States, we have a saying for that. Those dogs can hunt. And they were amazing. And yeah, I would probably say that, or maybe I played in Denmark a lot as well. Maybe something up there. I've been to Japan 20 times. So yeah, I have done a lot of traveling in the last half of my career.
Charlie?
Yes.
This is the French harp player again.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So this is Christelle again. So I've got a last question for you. What could be the best of the best advices you can give to a harmonica player backing up a singer? The things to do and the things not to do.
The things to do is stay out of the way of the singer, you know. So many harmonica players, when they get a chance to play, you know, they just go crazy, right? No, listen to the words. If you know, especially if it's a female singer, because you're right in their register, it's so easy to distract. So listen to the words and stay out of the way. That's what I say. The lyrics, you know, on doit écouter les paroles.
Excellent.
Oui.
I just want to end this conversation personally with you, saying that the first ballad I have been able to play 13 years ago was Shenandoah, and it was played by a guy called Charlie McCoy. So a part of the person responsible of my playing, it's you. So thank you very much.
Oh, okay. Okay, and I'm sure you know of my friend Jean-Jacques Milteau.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, he's a very good friend of mine.
Yeah, cool.
Yes. Hey, d'où êtes-vous en France?
I mean, I have been living in Paris, but now I live in Sweden. But you can find me on YouTube. I've got a couple of videos on YouTube, so you can find me.
Es-tu né à Paris?
Non, je suis né dans le centre de la France.
Where?
Dans le centre de la France, in the center of the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the city?
Châteauroux. It's a very small town.
Châteauroux, right? Yeah. Yeah, Châteauroux. I know about where it is. Over there in the central west.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You are back on there.
Yeah.
Bonne soirée.
Okay. Merci.
We had a question from Roger Trowbridge. I'm sure you know Roger. He was asking about what do you think about the early country harp players? I mean, I know you had in the you had DeFord Bailey was one of the early country players. What do you think about some of the others?
The guy I liked the most was a guy called Oni Wheeler. And of course, there was Oni Wheeler and trying to think of the other guy. He used to sell harmonicas on the radio out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Wayne Rainey and Oni Wheeler. Those were 2 guys early on that played. But you know, when I was a young kid, I didn't listen much to any of that because when I was a teen, I was all into rock and roll guitar. Yeah. Hey, you know something? I have a young granddaughter getting ready to graduate from college in a short amount of time. I wonder if I could just play you all a couple of tunes, and then I'm afraid I'm going to have to ramble
That's fine,
along.
Charlie. This has been a brilliant session. I think everybody's thoroughly enjoyed it. Can I just ask you if you're happy with us to put it on our website for members who can't make it tonight?
Sure.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, play us out by all means.
Okay. Now I don't know how the balance is going to be. I'm gonna play you one ballad and one Celtic song. Okay. Let me see if I can make this work. Okay.
This has been a brilliant session. Absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely, Bob. I mean, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, that's all I can say.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear that? This next song is a Celtic song. It's from the same album that Donald Black did a duet with me on. That's called the Sailor's Jig.
Fantastic.
Hey, thank you all so much. It's been really great talking to all of you, and I appreciate your interest. And I just want to say that I consider myself one of the most blessed people on the planet. You know,
You blessed us tonight.
this is what I've done my whole life. I've done nothing but what I love to do. I've been awarded, rewarded, met great, great people, and you know, merci à la bon Dieu. Your French lady there will.
Charlie, before you go, we can trace our rich history back to 1935, and you, because of tonight, are part of our history. Thank you so much.